We think of Lincoln as a man of action and agency, the president who led the nation through the Civil War. We forget that when Lincoln lived in New Salem, his life was often slow, had a very steady, quiet tempo to it, in between jobs, in between customers in the general store, walking to a surveying job, walking to Springfield. He had time. He listened to people and got to know them. Lincoln had a natural kindliness and a free-flowing compassion that endeared him to almost everyone he met. In 1832, impressed by Lincoln's stature, a number of friends and a few lawyers from Springfield urged Lincoln to run for the state legislature, and he does. John Stewart, a friend and colleague in the state legislature, urges him to consider law as a profession. It's unmistakable that this was an extraordinarily important moment for the young man. It was a way forward into the hustle and bustle and agency of the world of public affairs. It was a way of engaging his heart as well as his head, because Lincoln, with the astounding mind that he had, was not interested in the law purely analytically, purely technically. He was also fascinated by the philosophy and the art of law. It's not clear what Lincoln made of that moment in his life. An intensely personal man, Lincoln rarely talked about the inflection points in his life's journey. He was a man who in many, many ways held the world and the people in it at some distance from himself. Indeed, Lincoln had the ability as a young man, and particularly as he advanced along his own journey, to hold himself at a distance, to step outside the people around him and his own dealings with them and observe. When Lincoln became president in 1861, he, like most of his fellow Americans on both sides of the Civil War, believed that the war would be a short one, simple and swift and over by 4th of July or finished by Christmas. And as 1861 became 1862, he realized that the very complexity of the war, the very importance of what was being fought for, made it clear that there was no single, discernible, easy way to end it. This was an extremely difficult lesson for Lincoln to learn, both personally and publicly. We must come as leaders and teachers of leaders and people that want to make a positive difference in the world to understand that almost anything on our life's journeys and on the journeys and paths of our organizations that is worth fighting for, worth investing ourselves in, has no silver bullets. The bigger the issue, the more powerful the impact, the less likely there is that there's 1 or 2 or 3 swift strokes to solve it. No silver bullets. A lesson we can learn from Abraham Lincoln and the difficulties he experienced as president.